We were lucky enough to have him. She's being very, very diplomatic when I personally think she could probably go a bit harsher. But this woman is of sound mind. She's probably not a raging narcissist who reacts and doesn't think like some people whose name sounds like Schmerald and Schmegan. But okay. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jennifer. I am so happy to have you here. Okay, so let's get into it. The whole Sentebale charity scandal. What the heck is going on? I have an article pulled up here for you guys to see. It's from the Hollywood Reporter. It came out a few hours ago. How the collapse of Prince Harry's charity Sentebale has unfolded amid bullying claims. So Prince Harold has now been accused of harassment and bullying by this woman here. Her name is Dr. Sophie Chandauka, and I am so sorry if I massacred that. But she came on board as chair of the Sentebale charity in Africa in July 2023. And now, less than 2 years later, she is speaking out against Prince Harry and saying that he harassed and tried to bully her out of her chairwoman position. Well, I can tell you something. The first thing I thought of when I heard that Prince Harold had these charges of harassment and bullying being leveled at him, I thought, how on brand for him and his wife. I mean, come on. How many times are we going to have the words harassing and bullying associated with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? And what seems to be the common denominator in all of these scenarios? Well, it seems to be Harold and Miss Markle, doesn't it? It's just out of control. So this charity was founded in 2006, and it was co-founded by a prince named Prince Sessio of Lesotho in Africa in 2006. So it was Harry and this prince that founded this charity. And the charity was supposed to be working with children and young adults suffering with HIV and extreme poverty in Africa. And apparently, like the article says here, it was integral to his life, this charity, and it was a source of great pride for him for nearly 2 decades. We were all pretty much taken aback when Harry released a statement along with the prince that they were truly heartbroken and they were going to be resigning from their roles as patrons of this charity. And they basically said that they were having a dispute with this woman, Dr. Sophie, that they had asked her to step down and that she had refused. Now, the article goes on to say, now this is quote from Harry's statement that he released. He said, "These trustees acted in the best interest of the charity in asking the chair to step down." Now, when they say the chair, they mean Dr. Sophie. She was the chairwoman of the charity. And Prince Harry and this prince and also 5 trustee members all stepped down in solidarity with Prince Harry. And they're basically saying that they tried to ask her to step down, and then she in turn sued the charity to remain in the voluntary position, further underscoring the broken relationship. And then they're thanking the trustees for all their service, and they're saying that what transpired is unthinkable. We are in shock that we have to do this, but we have a continued responsibility to Sentebale's beneficiaries. So we will be sharing all of our concerns with the Charity Commission as to how this came about. So this was all in that statement that was released. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of a throwback. So this all happened this past week. So what did we know at that point? We knew that this was his beloved charity that he started and named after his mother. His mother's favorite flower was called a forget-me-not, and that's what Sentebale means, the word Sentebale. So that was started because of his mother. He wanted to continue her legacy of charitable work in Africa. We all know how Harry's just in love and over the moon with Africa, its beautiful landscape and its people. So this was one of the last ties that he had to being royal, officially royal. And to hear that he was stepping down, people were kind of scratching their heads as to what's going on? What is this? And then we all started looking at this woman and people started putting 2 to 2 together and they were like, wait a minute, this is the same woman that was on stage accepting a trophy with Prince Harry that he won during a polo match where he was playing for Team Sentebale in this charity match. And I thought that we would revisit that little video when she was on stage helping to accept the award. And if you all recall, there was somebody else on that stage who was also accepting the award with her husband, who, by all accounts, did she really, really have to be on that stage? But just to refresh everyone's memory, let's just watch that video. Okay, so take a little look-see at this video. We all remember this little gem from last year, don't we? So there's Dr. Sophie, who is chairwoman of the Sentebale charity. And look who is rushing her off and getting her, trying to get her away from Prince Harry.
Such a great
Now, do you guys notice that when Dr. Sophie, who is an accomplished lawyer, London educated from Zimbabwe, she comes over to help accept the trophy. And she is expecting to stand next to Prince Harry. She is the chairwoman of the charity, and he is the patron, one of the co-founders. And guess who will not give up her coveted position on that stage? And you can hear Meghan say, "Oh, do you want to come stand over here? Do you want to come stand over here?" And she keeps motioning, and she will not move. It is almost as if Meghan is nailed to her position on that stage. So I know a lot of us watched that, and we, at the time, didn't really know who Dr. Sophie was. Everyone knew about his Sentebale charity and that he was playing on behalf of the charity, but we didn't really know who Dr. Sophie was. She was just this beautiful African woman, proud, standing on stage. We knew that she probably had some association with the charity, but we didn't exactly know who she was, all this kind of stuff. At least I don't remember anyone really talking about it at length. But all anyone was really talking about was the fact that Meghan kept shooing this woman out of the way. That at the time was the big story. And it was like, what level of holy narcissistic HELL are we looking at? Like, this was just embarrassing for everyone all around. And she has a history of standing on stages when he's accepting trophies for polo matches and not moving. Remember that one where she was wearing that huge sun hat and she would not move, and the guys were trying to like hold the trophy, and like they couldn't get around her and her big hat, but she just refused to move. So this is on brand for this woman. And that's all we were talking about at the time was what fresh, is this? This is embarrassing, right? Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? We hadn't heard the last of Sophie Chandauka because this past weekend on Sky News, she broke her silence over the whole Sentebale deal. So Prince Harry had his little statement, had his little thing prepared earlier in the week, and he just released the hounds into the media. And so Dr. Sophie clapped back to the statement issued by Prince Harry and Princessio. And what she has to say is quite interesting, my friends. So let's get into that, shall we? Okay, I'm going to play this for you and we're going to discuss. But before I do that, I'm going to tell you that Dr. Sophie was actually, I got my notes here, she had served on the board of trustees for Sentebale between 2008 and 2014 before she returned to take the chairwoman position in 2023. So we will play some and then we will discuss some. Here we go.
Sophie, let me start with you. When you came back as chair in 2023, what did you think was going wrong?
Hold on. I think I have it a little bit fast because I always listen fast when I'm not recording. But here we go.
Now, I'm going to answer this very frankly, but I just want to say normally I wouldn't want to discuss family business in this way in an open forum. But here we are, and I'll do my best to be frank in my disclosure.
Now, I think that she's saying that because she really doesn't have a choice, right? Harry and that prince and the 5 trustees that resigned along with them basically said that, hey, we tried to get her to leave. We didn't like the way she was running things. She refused. Now she's suing and, we're just devastated. So obviously this woman's going to have to try to clear her name. So let's hear what she has to say.
When I arrived in July in 2023, of course, the first thing you do is you open the annual report. You look at the board minutes to see what it is going on in the organization. When you look at the I did a 7-year historical review of the financials, looking at our costs and looking at our revenue, so income. It was pretty obvious to me that we had lost quite a number of corporate sponsors. We'd lost some families and we'd lost individuals who were donating to the organization. And there was quite a significant correlation between the time the organization started to see a departure of sort of major organizations and Prince Harry's departure from the UK itself.
So why do you think that is? Why do you think that Sentebale started to lose donors in mass? And she's going in, she's looking at the book, she's looking at the financials, she's finding out that that is indeed the case. Why? Because Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, they left the royal family, but they did so in the most messy, disgusting way possible. They levied accusations of R against the family. They went on Oprah. There were all these claims that were not verified, that could not be proven, but yet they hurled them anyway. Prince Harry kind of walked them back in a really half-assed attempt about 2 years later in that Tom Bradby interview. But so there's been accusations about bullying regarding Meghan Markle, both in the UK and in the United States. So they're just, these two are a pair of walking contradictions, and they're divisive, and people don't like them. They don't trust them anymore. They have lost credibility and likability with the public. And she's smart. She's not a dummy. She's connecting the dots. She's seeing that these two are toxic for the charity Sentebale, and she's seeing it.
When you look at the board minutes, though, there is no discussion about what's happening with respect to some of our most significant funders. And then when you discuss with the senior executive team and ask why there isn't a conversation about this, the answer is it's really difficult to have this conversation because the instruction was it's an uncomfortable conversation to have with Prince Harry in the room.
So this.
Oh, I see. So it's not a comfortable conversation to have with Harry about why his baby, his charity that he founded in memory of his beloved late mother, it's an impossible and difficult conversation to have. And that's why, I guess, according to the board minutes, they're not having this conversation. But then it begs to reason, okay, then how much does Harry care about the charity itself, right? I mean, does he want what's best for the charity, and does he want to get to the bottom of why they're losing money and why they're losing donors, or does he just want to have or continue to have his own ego stroked and not have anyone broach the subject with him and talk about it with him? This is why people don't like them, because they see that these are two individuals that are in everything for themselves. It's not about others, it's about what they can get out of each situation. And charities are one of the only things that Harry tries to write out to this day. And he uses his involvement with these charities, in my humble opinion, to enrich his reputation as being a humanitarian, this wonderful charitable human being that's just trying to, work for the good of these impoverished and ill people and children and young people in Africa. And he's carrying his mother's name. And it's like, but are you really? Because if you really want to do good, don't you want to see that charity succeed?
The point here is when you look at the risk register of the charity and funding, number one risk is that Duke of Sussex.
Yes.
Is that your opinion, or?
It is. It is.
Ian, is that what you saw?
Yes, I mean, I think there's something underlying that as well, which is quite interesting. So if you look
now,
at
I want to tell you guys something about this gentleman right here. He worked with Prince William on one of Prince William's own charities. This man, Ian Rawlinson, he is a close ally of Prince William. And he had worked with Prince William on one of William's charities called the Tusk Trust from 2003 to 2013. And he also is still currently an active volunteer in wildlife conservation. But this man has just been appointed a new trustee just days after Harry stepped down. So he has associations with William.
In a rules-based governance framework, which in this case is regulated by the Charity Commission. And you're expecting the board to act independently, to support the charitable objects and support the interests of the organisation as a whole. If you get some trustees or a part of the board which is serving an external party, that can create a number of difficulties, and it can create dysfunctionality, because if they are serving the external party over and above the interests of the charity as a whole, you can get into
So what
a
this
muddle.
man
To
is
be
basically
absolutely clear,
saying, and remember, he's got close association with Prince William, and he is sitting on an interview panel with this woman who is accusing Harry of bullying and harassment. And this man is basically saying to the audience that, you know what, are Harry and that prince who co-founded the charity with him, and the 5 trustees that resigned along with Harry and still support Harry, are they acting in their interests, or are they acting in the interests of the charity? And then Dr. Sophie is going to go into how long some of these trustees have been entrenched with this charity, and why that's not right, and why that needs to be investigated, and why she's calling for it to be investigated.
you're saying, Sophie, number one, that what you discovered was essentially donors were walking
Yes.
because of the prince's reputation.
Yes.
Let me put to you what some of the members of the board had said about essentially these allegations. Sky News spoke to Dr. Kelele Leratoli early on this week, and she said, I've been in all the meetings, conduct of the board has been one of respect for each other. All of this came as a shock to me. What exactly is the difference then?
Okay. I'll give my...
Dr. Leratoli doesn't recognise the picture that you're recognise the picture you're painting.
Yeah, so I'll answer that question in 2 parts, and Ian, it would be good to get your perspective as well. I'll be very direct with it. He had the worst attendance record, and even when he was in the meetings, he didn't actually contribute that much. So I'm not surprised that he didn't know much of what was going on in the organization.
To be fair, I mean, he's not here to answer for himself.
Yes.
Let me
But
speed this up just a little, because I'm telling you, it's so hard for me to listen to stuff at normal speed now. Like,
what he's saying is that when he was in the meetings, there was no conflict. Everything was pretty straightforward, and he can't see the allegations that you're making about poor governance in his experience. He doesn't recognise them.
I think, as a matter of fact, I mean, he wasn't in all the meetings. And if you have irregular attendance, then you're not going to see the trend over a long time.
So here is here's the thing to remember. There were meetings definitely where Dr. Kelly was not present, and there was belligerence, and there was an insistence on, raising of topics that were not even on the agenda of the day. An example might be Prince Harry decides on a specific occasion that he wants to appoint an individual to the board with immediate effect without having talked to me. It's not on the agenda, and somehow everybody's just supposed to tolerate that.
He being here, Prince Harry.
Yes, Prince.
So Prince Harry comes into the meeting and says, I want to appoint somebody as CEO.
As a board member, as a trustee with immediate effect. His proxy on the board says, yes, I second that motion. The third proxy on the board says, welcome to the board, Brian. And everybody's shocked and quiet. But this is what happens when the prince is in the room and no one has the courage to speak.
so it seems like Prince Harry just figures that his good name, or what he thinks is his good name, is just going to go as far as he wants it to go. He can just go in and he can dictate terms and not really have to consult at all with this woman who has been, tasked with being the chairwoman of this charity. She runs things.
To speak. Another trustee, Baroness Chalker of Wallasey,
So these are all the
served
people
as a
that are
trustee
backing
for
Harry.
20 years, described you as, I'm quoting here, almost dictatorial.
Change is hard for some people. Let me just put it that way. I think what we had here was a board that had overstayed by even Charity Commission guidance.
There's
Most
a
of the
UK
members of the
Charity
board...
Commission that oversees the way that they're run, the way that they're organized, the way that they're handled, what they do with their funds, all that stuff. And they have guidelines in place saying that there is, I think it's 5 years. I think she says it. There's a certain amount of time that people should serve as trustees on the board, and then after they should resign because they get too entrenched and it's not good for the charity.
I came back in July of 2023, had been on the board when I left. This is not how a properly
That's
run
right.
organization should work. You're not supposed to be on a board for past 9 years. Most of these individuals were there for 5, 10, 15, now 19 years. And so what you have is entrenchment.
And what I
and there's
love
a
is
reason
how calm she is. She is very calm. She is maintaining eye contact. Her body language is open. She has nothing to hide. I do not get any type of retaliatory, like, contempt coming from her. She is just laying it out.
why you have term limits.
That's why you have
because
term
people
limits.
begin to mark their own homework, and turkeys don't vote
Yep.
for Christmas. And so here I come talking about transformation and innovation and fresh ideas. What do you think the response might be?
What you seem to be, let's deal with the elephant in the room here. Is this characteristic, this way of doing things, do you think something to do with the fact that this was Prince Harry's charity and the people, as you say, there are people on it who were in some way beholden to him? Is that the point you're making here?
I think there's something very important about that, because when the charity was set up, it was structured in a certain way. So he was a young, this was a young Harry,
So
a youthful Harry that we were.
where they talk about basically how when the charity was formed, the problems and the conditions in Africa were a lot different than they are now, and that the charity isn't structured in such a way to allow the charity to work to solve those problems effectively. So this is where we get into it, you guys. That little gem of a video I showed you earlier, where Meghan Markle refused to allow Dr. Sophie, chair of the charity, Sentebale, to stand next to her husband, Prince Harold. They're going to talk about that charity match. This is good.
Let's talk about where things, as you saw it, started to go wrong. One of the incidents was the fundraising, the polo tournament, which is one of the ways in which Sentebale raised a lot of money. What happened?
We were so fortunate the opportunity to do a polo challenge in Miami last year in April. We had a very generous family that was happy for us to use their polo grounds at a material discount. And then about a month before the event was about to take place, Prince Harry called the team and said, I'm doing a Netflix show, and I would love to bring a camera crew so that I can include some footage in this show.
What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of the fact that this is a private endeavor that he's doing? His involvement with Netflix actually doesn't have anything to do with the charity. Do you think it's fair of him to merge those two worlds? So he calls up, and like I mentioned before, he thinks that his name is enough to just steamroll everyone to get what he wants. So he is now wanting to bring his camera crews from Netflix for his private financial things, projects he's got going on to film at this charity. So now she's going to describe the trouble that caused the charity, how it forced them to basically look for a new venue.
And so the team called me and tell me, oh, Prince Harry's made this request, so we're doing the things. I said, you can't be doing the things without seeking consent from the property owners, the sponsors, all the guests. Nobody signed up into being on a Netflix show. Okay. And so we have this discussion about the need to...
Not everybody wants to be on a Netflix show. Not everybody wants their mug on camera. There's consent. There's things you have to do to get permission from people. He doesn't think about anything.
Talk to everybody. We come up with draft agreements. And of course, the venue owner says, this is now a commercial undertaking. So here are my terms. We couldn't afford it. So now we lost the venue. So we went to another venue, and we were lucky enough that...
Who thinks that Harry apologized for that? I'm so sorry to cause this. We now cannot use this venue because they're saying that you're now using it for commercial purposes, and based on that, we have new terms. So now they can afford the new terms. See what this is causing? And who else do you think is behind Harry's requests to have the Netflix cameras brought in? Who else in his life do you think is there trying to monetize the entire situation? I wonder.
Through Prince Harry's connections, actually, and a friend of his, there was another family that was prepared to host.
Thank
the
goodness.
show went on, but there was a lot of disruption, right? Yeah. A lot of people were unhappy because we'd worked on this for months. At the actual, on the actual day, we had Prince Harry, which is always wonderful. The Duchess decided to attend.
See how very diplomatic she is still? Because still, when you think about it, this is his charity. He co-founded it, his baby. And he is causing problems, causing disruption. And not only that, but as you'll see further, he's allowing his wife to dictate terms. She's saying it still is a good thing that he's there. It's a good thing that he's representing. We were lucky enough to have him. She's being very, very diplomatic, when I personally think she could probably go a bit harsher. But this woman is of sound mind. She's probably not a raging narcissist who reacts and doesn't think like some people whose name sounds like Schmerald and Schmegan. But okay.
She told us she wasn't attending. And she brought a friend, a very famous friend. So you can imagine all of the activity that goes with these additions.
It was Serena Williams. So she said that she wanted that she wasn't going to come, but at the last minute, she comes in and brings Serena. And Dr. Sophie is saying that was a huge disruption. And it probably was.
No, amazing people. We're excited about it. We would have been really excited had we known ahead of time, but we didn't. And so the choreography went badly on stage because we had too many people on stage. The international press captured this, and there was a lot of talk about the Duchess and
there was a lot of talk about how rude the Duchess was. That's what the talk was about. The talk was about, why is she on the stage? This is Harry's event, Harry's charity. There is someone who is involved with the charity at the time, this African woman, this beautiful African woman on stage, that she keeps trying to shoo away, bat her away as if she's an annoying fly. That's what people were talking about, the behavior of the Duchess. Sorry, I keep interrupting Dr. Sophie. Dr. Sophie, please continue.
Choreography on stage and whether she should have been there and her treatment of me. Prince Harry asked me to issue some sort of a statement in support of the Duchess, and I said I wouldn't. Not because I didn't care about the Duchess, but because I knew what would happen if I did so, number one. And number two, because we cannot be an extension of the Sussex.
What would have
PR
happened
machine.
if you had simply just said, there's nothing wrong with what's happened, what the Duchess did?
Well, the Duchess has told Dr. Sophie Chandauka to make a press release about her, and then she'll get even worse trolling. That's what would have happened.
You said.
So she's actually being very diplomatic, and I've heard a couple of other commentators talking about how what she's saying doesn't make sense. Like, she should be going a little more hard on Meghan's behavior and the fact that Meghan behaved badly at the event by shooing her away. The optics were terrible, and that Harry did nothing about it. And now we all know, at probably the behest of his wife, he's turning around trying to bully, like a soft bully, but trying to go to Dr. Sophie, in my opinion, and tell her, hey, you know what, Meghan's getting a lot of flack in the paper about, that kerfuffle on stage. Can you make some kind of statement? Basically, he wanted Dr. Sophie basically to say that it was not a big deal, that everything was fine, that I wasn't offended, blah, blah, blah. She didn't want to do that because she knows what happened. I mean, I didn't even have to be there. You didn't even have to be there to see how just cringeworthy that whole exchange was on that stage, right? So why should she make a statement? He's just wanting her to cover his wife's tracks. She doesn't have any skin in the game with that. Dr. Sophie doesn't care about that kind of stuff. And she also knows that all of the media machine surrounding the Sussexes, whether it's their rabid fans or whether it's the Sussexes themselves and all their paid publicity that is constantly trying to pump out this stuff, it's just all toxic. And she did not want to have her name out there. She didn't want to be involved. So she's being very diplomatic, but that's what she's saying. And she also knows that if she would have come out and said, oh, it's not a big deal, blah, 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 she would have gotten backlash for it. And if she didn't say something, she still would have gotten a backlash. And it's all surrounding those two. They are toxic, and she knows it. And that's why she didn't want to say a darn word about it. And you know what? I don't blame her. She was probably biding her time until this moment. That's in my humble opinion, that's what's going on here.
Prince Harry wanted to, I'm quoting here, force the failure of the charity. Mm-hmm. Why on earth would he want a charity he founded in memory of his mother to fail? I mean, that's
some of the claims that she is levying against him was that because of the inept way that things were being handled and all the backlash that she was getting, she wanted to right wrongs that she was seeing going on in all the inept way that the things were being run. She wanted to right wrongs. She wanted to go in there and basically clean house. Harry didn't like it, and those trustees that he has in his corner didn't like it either. The ones that had been there for 15 plus years. Nobody likes it, but she knows that. She's not stupid. So basically, she's just saying that he's deliberately trying to get people away from her so that she has less and less and less control, so that they can basically say, well, look, under her leadership, this charity isn't doing well at all. So it's kind of like a backhanded way of trying to get her out. And that's basically what she's alleging. And this Trevor Phillips guy, I don't know who he is, but I've never seen him before. But this guy on Sky News is trying to say, well, why would he want it to fail? Like, why are you levying those accusations at him? So this is what she says. This is how she responds.
He would have some justification for feeling hurt at allegation.
Oh, wow.
To be honest, it's a last resort. Really, what Prince Harry wanted to do was to eject me from the organization. And this went on for months. It went on for months through bullying, harassment. I have documentation. There were board meetings where members of the executive team and external strategic advisors were sending me messages saying, should I interrupt? Should I stop this? Oh my gosh, this is so bad. In fact, our strategic advisor for fundraising then sent me a message saying she wouldn't want to ever attend any more board meetings or bring her colleagues because of the treatment. When that failed, Prince Harry started to brief, and his team, sponsors that I'd been speaking to against me and the charity. Because
so if he withdraws, and all of those 5 trustees with him and the other co-founder, if they all withdraw, it's as if to say, well, she's inept, she is like a dictator, she's not wanted, we're trying to make her step down, she won't go, so it's with a heavy heart, we're so heartbroken that we have to do this. And she ain't buying any of it. And I know a lot of us watching this are not buying it either. I mean, come on.
that is a sure way of getting me out if it's seen as though I'm not being successful in my fundraising efforts.
And not only that, but she does not talk about specifics regarding the harassment and the bullying. She says she has documentation, but she does not come out and talk about these specifics. Will she? Will it be revealed? I do think it's like the Bible says, everything will be revealed, the truth. You can't hide the truth. It'll all come out in time. So this is all very, very interesting, folks. What do you think? And I personally think that it all comes down to his ego, and he is just willful. He's been willful and disruptive since he's been a child. He's the type of personality where you cannot tell him what to do. You can't tell him no. It's all about him. It's all about the ego. That's my opinion. And that's the opinion of a lot of people that have had contact with him. And now that's the opinion of Dr. Sophie and this new trustee, this Liam or Liam. So I've got this article from the Financial Times saying that Dr. Sophie said that during her time at the charity as chairwoman, she received disrespect, bullying, and intimidation and misogyny. And all these allegations, of course, are being denied by Harry, and his trustees are saying the meetings that they were present in, they never experienced that and all this stuff. But again, she talks about how the people that are being vocal in that sense, sticking up for him, most of them weren't usually present at meetings. And there's a portion in that Sky News interview that you didn't see that I didn't show you because it would have been crazy long. But she talks about how he didn't even visit the area that Sentebale works in Africa. He didn't go for 6 years. He went at her request last year in 2024. So how much do you care about and want to nurture a charity that is founded on the memory of your mother when you don't even, how involved are you? And then so she's basically saying that tensions came to a head this past February when basically Harry and the other trustees and the prince that he co-founded it with wanted her out, wanted her resignation, saying that they're losing money because of her. And it's interesting because she's alleging that actually, no, it's his toxic reputation and his wife that is causing the charity's donors to bow out. So they're all going to her in February trying to get her to resign. She refuses. So that same month, she filed a report with the Charity Commission that same month that Harry and his trustees wanted her out. She says in that complaint, quote, "I view the request for my resignation as being a direct response to my raising significant concerns regarding the charity's current governance, management, and administration." That's what she put in the complaint. She's saying that because she went in there and tried to cross the T's and dot the I's and clean house, that's why they want her to resign, because the old guard didn't like what she was doing and was scoffing at her. And I've heard different things out there, people saying that, oh, Dr. Sophie is known for being a disruptor, hostile takeovers, things like that. And you know what? To all that, I say, who cares? Who cares? Because isn't this a couple that is supposed to be out there championing people who feel that they don't have a voice? Why aren't they standing up for someone like her who wants to go in and use her knowledge, her expertise to clean up a charity and make sure that it's running at the most efficient way possible? She is a lawyer. She's a businesswoman. She's pretty smart. She's pretty savvy. And I find it very, very interesting how they aren't backing her, especially Meghan. She is going to basically shoo and swat off stage a woman of color. I mean, who does Meghan Markle think she is? I do not understand this at all. So basically, the newly formed board now includes that other gentleman that I was pointing out to you, that Ian Rawlinson. And he has previously, like we said, worked with Prince William on his conservation charities as well. And he is now advising Dr. Sophie, which I love, by the way. And listen to this, because this woman is not stupid, okay? It said she argued that the volatile public sentiment around Prince Harry since his move to the US and media fallout after the release of a Netflix documentary in 2022 and his book in 2023 had an impact on the charity's ability to diversify its donor pool and make senior hires. She says, quote, "When you start to interview people, they're asking questions about, well, these mixed messages around the patron. The charity has been almost entirely reliant on the positive view of Prince Harry to raise funds. So if you're Prince Harry and you're a very divisive figure, married to an even more divisive woman, leaving all these bodies in your wake as you go, of course it's going to be hard to raise money for your charity." So what does this all sound like to you guys? To me, this sounds like there was a lot going on behind the scenes to try to force this woman out of her chairwoman position, because they just really didn't like her. They didn't like the way that she wanted to run things and the way that she wanted to clean house. So they did probably try to bully and harass her out of her position. I can't wait to see if she really does provide hard documentation to point to that. I really hope that she does, because this cannot stand. So he tried to get her out. The other trustees try to get her out. She won't go quietly because she knows that they just don't like her. So then he goes and releases that statement to try to wash his hands of it, as if to say, well, you know, she didn't have the charity's best interests in mind. We're losing money. She's inept. That's why I have to leave. I mean, talk about just such an underhanded thing to do. The icing on the cake for Dr. Sophie was all that she had been going through, everything that she had been put through, and then to be treated on the world stage. She was being shoved off of a stage by his wife, by Meghan Markle, for all the headaches she had to go through, and then to go and be treated like that by Meghan, and then to have them turn around and want her to release a statement to just say, oh, it's okay, it was fine. I mean, like, the audacity of these people. I cannot fathom who Harry and Meghan actually think they are. They are their own personal gods in their life, and they treat others as if we are all supposed to worship them blindly, that we're just supposed to do whatever they say, agree with whatever they want us to go along with. I mean, the amount of ego and hypocrisy is just staggering. So I'm definitely going to be watching this story. I know you guys will too. I cannot wait for Dr. Sophie to show up with some real receipts here. They supposedly are such champions of people of color, but look how they really, really treat people behind the scenes. And you know, it is like the Bible says, all this stuff will come to light. It has to come to light. You cannot continue to treat people the way that these two have without it coming back. And it's not about karma. I don't believe in karma. I believe in God's laws, and God does not want us out there treating people like this, because you know what? Sooner or later, he's going to enact his justice. And that is what's happening here is justice. Sorry, I don't know if you hear my kids screaming up there. They're playing Minecraft. But yeah, anyway, so just to see them behave like this, I mean, it's what we've all known, the people that have been following Harry and Meghan for years. But what is happening now, it's finally coming to light. The rest of the world is now really, really picking up on who these people are and what they're about. Harry, he does a lot of things to sabotage his own situations and ruin things for himself. But in addition to that, he's allowing that woman, Meghan Markle, to sink him even further and further, in my opinion. And I know a lot of us out there feel the same. She brought this whole Netflix thing in on his charity and cheapened it, and then treated the chairwoman like the way she did on that stage. Even the last tie now that he has to that charity that he so-called loves so much and, founded in loving memory of his mother. She has now even managed to have a hand in ruining that as well. The level of ego, it's beyond. It blows my mind. So this one was particularly crazy. We are all going to be watching this story very closely. I'm going to be continuing to watch it very closely. What I try to do is watch the stories and not report on them every single day, but just try to wait a few days, kind of get more research, because more and more stuff comes to light if you wait a little longer. That's kind of what I do. And not only that, but it's pretty hard for me to do one video every single day. I have so much going on, but I'm going to be watching this. Let me know below. What do you think of Dr. Sophie? What do you think of the way that she spoke and the way that she carried herself? And what do you think about all this? Let me know in the comments down below. I love you guys. I will talk to you very soon. Bye.
Isn't the problem here that it was you was the problem, not the prince?
It was me who was the problem because I put a whistleblower complaint about the bullying, the harassment, and the misogyny, and Prince Harry interfered in the investigation of that. And the senior independent director who should have taken care of it was the very same person who then delivered the news to me that I was going to be removed by the board. So it's a cover-up. And the prince is involved. There's some individuals on the board who, quite frankly, did not treat me in the way that they would have treated the prior chair.
Sorry, because?
And completely disrupted my meetings because they thought that they could get away with mistreating a woman. And all the women who attended these meetings felt it.
Does Sentebale have a future without the Duke of Sussex?
Absolutely. Sentebale has had a future. We must stop infantilizing Sentebale. Sentebale is 19 years old. Sentebale is here because of the people in Africa who do the work every single day. Prince Harry visited Africa for the first time in 5 years when I asked him to last year. Who do you think was running the show? During the pandemic, before the pandemic, and after the pandemic, Sentebale will live. Sentebale will live on because of the people.
Ian, Sophie, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.